another episode of Entrepreneurs in Fuego. We're documenting the journey of incredible entrepreneurs. Nick Medina, M2 Group. How you doing, man?
Good.
Tell us about the M2 Group.
So the M2 Group, we are a technology software company, and what we do basically is we provide sales and marketing for outsourced companies within that space.
Okay.
Right now what we're doing though is we are actually in acquisition mode, and so we are acquiring software, telecom, and technology companies in the B2B space, specifically though in Arizona.
All right, so I understand all that, but in the B2B space, what kind of companies? Give me an example of a company that you're in the process, that you've acquired, let's say. Because if you're in the process of acquiring, it might be secret stuff, and we don't want to divulge.
So just to kind of give you an
example,
understanding is our main focus is telecom. We've been in the telecom space for 14 years now.
All right.
And so what we've done though is a lot of these companies though, we've recently looking at billing companies. We're looking at software companies that are all in the B2B space. So, for example, one of the companies we were looking at is a property management company that also integrates with voice over IP and integrates with cloud services in the B2B space and things like that. Most of our products and services, though, are white labeled or able to be resold by our MSPs and ISPs, which is who our main customers are.
You know, we're dealing in a different type of environment. You're talking about the telecommunications environment, and if all goes well, I think this week and maybe AT&T acquires Time Warner, and I think that things are very consolidating in the top.
Right.
Do you see kind of the same consolidation going on in your space?
So yeah, there's a lot of small mom and pop phone providers out there with the 1996 Telecom Deregulation Act that actually opened up a lot of opportunity for small ISPs. As some of these ISPs, have local customers, they may range anywhere from a couple hundred customers to a couple thousand in there, and so we're going after these smaller ones and try to consolidating these smaller industries.
In consolidating these smaller industries, what is the most difficult thing about that you encounter in looking for these companies?
There's a lot of difficult things in there. I mean, we're really, at the end of the day, we're acquiring their assets, but we have to put up with their billing systems. We have to put up how their customers are used to doing business with them.
Right.
And it's a process of, having all these different systems and processes kind of come into our organization. And so that's a lot of work, doing that initially.
What did you do before M2?
So before M2, it depends on how far you want to go back, but
your childhood years, and I'm not.
Yeah.
How about your entrepreneurial years? Did you always work for corporate America, or did you kind of have your own thing all the time?
So yeah, it's kind of a long journey and kind of a long, tedious one on how I got there, but. Just to kind of give you background, right after high school, went into the military, did that for about 2.5 years. I was in communications, assigned to a military intelligence company, and where I did some translating down in South America and things like that.
Right.
Once I got out of that, I actually went to ASU, did that, majored in finance, met my wife there. We ended up moving to Seattle for a while. And then that's where I actually got introduced to the whole telecom thing. That's around the time that the whole 1996 Telecom Deregulation Act happened.
Okay.
Got interested in becoming an ISP, did some research on that, kind of tinkered around with modems and dial-up and things like that. So, and then my wife and I, we started a Flash 2 internet services at that point up in Seattle. Did that for a while. Didn't go so well. We invest a lot into that when we took out SBA loans and all that, and ended up selling the company, for loss. And so right after that experience, I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth about the whole entrepreneur thing, and went to go work for a telecom company in sales and marketing. And so that really helped from my perspective of having been in their shoes as an ISP. So I actually was able to go and sell to these ISPs, and I understood what their pains were, and where they needed help. And so that actually made me successful on the sales side to figure out what they needed.
So in fact, the experience that you got as an entrepreneur,
yes.
I mean, that failure, in fact, you translated into, well, this is what I went through.
Right.
I feel this is what you must be going through as well.
Exactly. And so that helped me from that perspective. Eventually, I did really well there, made, more money than I had ever done with other jobs.
Right.
And then I read a book, called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and
Sure.
that's kind of what gave me the inspiration to kind of go back in there again and give it another shot. And so at that point, I had met my business partner there. We had both said, hey, let's go out on our own. We can do what we're doing now, but be independent agents and not only sell for our existing company, but sell for other companies. And so we did that. We went ahead and, took what we had, went to go buy laptops, and started the next day and just started signing contracts with all that. But the biggest thing is we had a customer base already. We had a book of business that we could start.
People knew of
Right.
you. People
Right.
knew what you did.
Yeah.
And so that was an incredible advantage.
Yeah, I mean, as opposed to what we did before, where build it and they will come. That's not a good business.
It only works in the movies, maybe.
Right, exactly.
But not necessarily in business.
Right, so that gave us a huge leg up. Granted, I mean, we didn't make a ton of money, the first 2-3 years, it was a struggle and stuff. But eventually, with telecom, it's all residual, and eventually it built up to where we had, a good amount coming in, and eventually we decided to relocate to Arizona just because the cost of living and employees and everything else up in Seattle was getting, very competitive. You've got Microsoft, Boeing, a bunch of other stuff up there, and so it was much a better business environment down here.
And do you see, speaking about here, Arizona specifically,
Right.
do you see Arizona as a good environment for what you do, for the type of
Right.
business that you're doing going forward?
Maybe 5 to 10 years ago, not really, but with all the recent activity, you've got a lot of eyes on Phoenix all of a sudden because of the high cost of living in California, like the Bay Area, all that other stuff. You actually are seeing a lot of companies starting to relocate down here. So eventually, and the thing is, we've got great weather here. We've got a good cost
Great
of
weather,
living.
maybe 7 months out of the year. Let me throw that
Right.
caveat.
Well, yes. I mean, it's not like California,
Right.
where it's But then again, it's not like East Coast where it's negative 30 or whatever
Precisely.
on some areas. But yeah, relatively speaking, and we have a good workforce here. We have ASU. We've got a lot of activity that's occurring along the whole 101. They call it the new Silicon Valley corridor and stuff. You've got a lot of you've got GoDaddy, you've got all these other companies that are starting to, boost employment and,
Infusionsoft.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
all these companies. So yeah, no, I really see a lot of potential for Phoenix in terms of the telecom and internet in general. So
What
Pretty
do you
excited
see
about
as an entrepreneur? And I know you
Right.
learned a lot of lessons
right,
when you failed
Right.
as an entrepreneur.
yep,
And you were like, it just
Yeah.
left a bad taste to
It
kind of
did.
use your
It did for a
words.
while.
But now you are in a nice space.
right.
What do you see now as going forward the biggest obstacle for your business? The biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge right now is actually going to be, really, it's going to be regulation. It's going to be figuring out, right now with the election going on, we don't know what's going on. And so it's really hard for us to invest. It's really hard for us to figure out what to do in this environment right now. And so we're kind of just wait and hold right now. We're not really looking to do anything.
And do you see that in general? I think that is permeating throughout other industries as well. Because
absolutely.
it's like, I don't really want to do a major capital investment or
Right.
buy this or buy that until after the elections.
Absolutely.
Because that's kind of going to determine a little bit of what the kind of environment that we're going to have.
Yeah, unfortunately, government has a huge, they're our silent business partner. They're a 30% partner, whether you like it or not. And
Sure.
so we've got to wait to see what happens there before we make any moves on that.
Your biggest lesson
Mm-hmm.
that you learned all throughout these years as an entrepreneur, and somebody
Right.
that wants to kind of walk that path that
Right.
you have already traveled. What would be the biggest, shall we say, advice that you would give?
Advice?
Yes.
I don't know. Look at obstacles not as obstacles, but as learning opportunities to get back. At the end of the day, the way I look at it is, even if I were to lose everything, I still have my family and my health.
Yep.
And so, why not go out there and take risks rather than play it safe? At the end of the day, you have nothing to lose. You can always rebuild it again. They can take everything away from you, but they can't take away your knowledge and your drive to succeed.
knowledge is something that nobody can take away from you,
Exactly.
regardless. You
Exactly.
can lose everything. You can lose everything material.
Right.
But what is up here and what you learn throughout your years, your experience, education, et cetera, is something that you can always take and build from in the future.
Exactly. Yep.
Medina. Excellent.
All right.
Great words,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the
and,
time.
And to group, what anything that we can do for you? What specific type of companies again that you would want to? Because we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we're looking to partner or acquire or joint venture with smaller technology telecom companies. In the up to the 5 million in revenue size. So we're looking to just do what we can and to try to help grow the entire internet telecom software space here in Phoenix.
We have a couple of people that we can connect you with.
Awesome. That
Thanks
sounds
again,
great.
man. Appreciate it.
it.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
We're out.